It is clear to everyone that India has many problems. Its internet defenders will shout about how great it is while sweeping these problems under the rug and crying racism or deflecting when someone highlights these problems. Let's talk briefly about the major issues plaguing India. Poverty, inequality, and unemployment. India's economy faces several challenges despite its rapid growth in recent years. While the country is one of the world's largest economies, its GDP growth has been inconsistent, often hindered by structural issues. Remember, India's GDP per capita is $2,400, whereas China, with a comparable population, has GDP per capita of almost $13,000. That is an astonishing difference of over 5 times. According to the World Bank, roughly 80% of the population still lives in poverty and earns under $5.50 per day, with hundreds of millions unable to meet basic needs such as healthcare, education, and nutrition. Economic inequality is a persistent issue with a considerable wealth gap between the urban elite and rural poor. Its Gini coefficient is 0.41, which indicates high levels of inequality. Unemployment remains a major concern, particularly among young people, as the job market struggles to accommodate the growing workforce. This also leads to people looking for other ways to make money, for example, scamming. There is one famous stereotype that everyone in the world knows about India, that it is the home of scammers pretending to work for Apple tech support. Moreover, the informal sector, which comprises a large portion of India's labor force, is characterized by low wages, job insecurity, and lack of social benefits. Despite India's booming tech industry and services sector, insufficient industrial diversification and infrastructure challenges hold back broader economic progress, leading to stagnant wages and economic mobility for a significant portion of the population. Treatment of women. First, let me note the many times we see stories of sexual violence against female tourists in India. It's not a secret, it usually happens in the rural north of India. The treatment of women remains a significant issue. Women often face widespread discrimination and are subjected to cultural and social inequalities. We've heard the anecdotes of women not drinking water in public so they don't have to attend a public toilet for fear of getting assaulted. Although lots of times there aren't public toilets, gender-based violence, including domestic abuse, sexual harassment, and human trafficking, is alarmingly prevalent, and the legal and justice systems sometimes fail to provide adequate protection or punishment for perpetrators. Women often have limited access to education, healthcare, and employment opportunities, which reinforces their marginalization. The deeply ingrained patriarchal mindset often results in a preference for male children, leading to practices such as female infanticide and sex-selective abortion. Although there have been efforts to address these issues through policies and awareness campaigns, deeply rooted cultural norms and societal attitudes continue to perpetuate the mistreatment and oppression of women in India. Corruption remains a deeply entrenched issue, affecting virtually every sector of society, from politics and government to business and law enforcement. It hampers economic development, undermines the effectiveness of public services, and erodes trust in institutions. Bribery, embezzlement, and favoritism are widespread, with government officials often exploiting their positions for personal gain. You've seen the tourist videos about India. If you pay the police officer a few hundred rupees, they will look the other way. The judicial system too faces delays and inefficiencies, partly due to corruption within its ranks. Political corruption involving the manipulation of policies and the diversion of public funds is a frequent concern, particularly in local and state-level governance. Why do you think Adani has recently praised Modi and said he is just like the mighty Brahmaputra? Because they are in bed together. The impact of corruption is most detrimental to the poorest and most vulnerable populations, as it deprives them of access to essential services like healthcare, education, and housing. Although India has made efforts to combat corruption through initiatives like the Right to Information Act and digital transparency measures, the persistence of bribery networks, lack of accountability, and weak enforcement of laws continue to impede progress. Infrastructure remains inadequate and subpar, hindering both economic growth and the quality of life for its citizens. In urban areas, while some cities boast modern amenities, many still struggle with unreliable and underdeveloped public transportation systems, congested roads, and poor waste management. In rural areas, the situation is even more dire, with limited access to clean water, electricity, and sanitation. India's roads and railways, crucial for both domestic and international trade, are frequently overcrowded and poorly maintained, leading to traffic jams, delays, and accidents. Also, these poor infrastructures and lack of health and safety lead to stampedes, which seem to happen once every few months in India. The energy sector, too, faces challenges, with frequent power shortages and an over-reliance on non-renewable resources. These infrastructure deficits increase the cost of doing business, lower productivity, and contribute to disparities in economic development between urban and rural regions. Despite ongoing efforts to improve infrastructure, including large-scale government projects, progress has been slow, and the country still faces a significant gap in meeting its growing population's needs. The lack of education remains a significant issue, where millions of children, especially in rural areas, face barriers to accessing proper schooling. While enrollment rates have improved, the quality of education often falls short due to overcrowded classrooms, inadequate teaching resources, and poorly trained educators. Many schools lack basic infrastructure such as functional toilets, safe drinking water, and reliable electricity, further hindering learning. Additionally, the curriculum is frequently outdated and does not equip students with the skills needed for the modern workforce, leading to a gap between education and employment. The underfunding of the education system, combined with rising dropout rates, especially in marginalized communities, perpetuates cycles of poverty and inequality. What does this lack of education lead to? It leads to people blindly believing in superstition and religion. They accuse and attack random people for being witches and pray to deformed children who are born with 6 arms as they believe they are a god. Although the government has implemented policies like the Right to Education Act, challenges like regional disparities, a shortage of teachers, and socio-economic factors continue to undermine efforts to provide quality education for all children. If you enjoyed this video, then please like, comment, and subscribe. Thanks for watching.